Good evening, our viewer and dear listener on Zodiak Broadcasting Station and Zodiak Television. My name is Alex Banda, and this evening we are at Sunbed Mount Sochi Hotel in the city. The climax of the World Press Freedom Day commemorations, where journalists who have done well in the year 2020 are going to be awarded with different accolades in the areas of fields and the beats that are best in. This evening we are going to get speeches from Miss Malawi chairperson Teresa Temwekandanga. There's also going to be a speech from the UN Communications Group chairperson, that's UNAIDS country director, Mr. Nuha Sise. Now, there were several activities to this event tonight at Mount Sochi Hotel. You know, journalists had to take their freedom march from Kamuzu Upper Stadium to Malawi Sun, where they also held a panel discussion. I'll be joined by different guests on this this evening on this Zodiac television to give us a brief what transpired in the afternoon, what we should expect this evening right here on Zodiac television and Zodiac radio. I'm going to invite my colleague Masozi Gasambala. Good evening, Masozi.
Evening, Alex.
You took part in the Freedom March area in the day from Kamuzu Upper Stadium to Malawi Sun. Do tell us what exactly were the journalists trying to show in that march?
Very correct, Alex. A big day indeed for media practitioners in this country. Today, March the 3rd, where perhaps May the 3rd, where we're commemorating Press Freedom Day. The theme for this event is information as a public good. As you have rightly indicated, Alex, there was a freedom march from Kamuzu Upper Stadium through Chipembere Highway to Malawi Sun Hotel, where there was a panel discussion. But perhaps before that panel discussion, there are a number of media gurus that we did talk to. We had a chat, for instance, with Wisdom Chingwede, who chairs the Media Council of Malawi. He did stress the fact that this day is very significant in as far as media is concerned in this country, more especially considering that a day of this kind gives a kind of soul searching among media practitioners, among media houses, to say how are we performing. There is a great deal of self-regulation where we feel as a media are going off the rail. We need to come back on the right path.
You did also get a chance to talk to Miss Malawi chairperson Teresa Temwekandanga. What exactly did she highlight during and after the Freedom March?
Well, Alex, throughout the interaction that we had with Teresa Temwekandanga, who happens to be the chairperson for Medians of Southern Africa, Miss Malawi chapter. To begin with, it was a great deal of excitement from her. But perhaps there are a number of pertinent issues that she did raise. For instance, she talked about harassment on the part of the media, to say from January 2020 to date, a total of 20 media practitioners have ever been harassed. Unfortunately, perpetrators have been left to go scot-free.
20 journalists have been assaulted in one way or the other, but none of the perpetrators has been arrested.
Correct. She did express to say this is very worrying, more especially considering the fact that public officers who are supposed to be leaders in as far as upholding press freedom is concerned are also implicated in this issue of violence or harassment against the media practitioners. Now, there was also a concern from a lot of journalists to say perhaps every time a journalist is harassed, you find that what Misa and Media Council issue a statement. Is it just a debate club?
Okay. Now, talking about harassment of journalists, I'll be joined shortly by one of the journalists, a veteran journalist himself, Watibaso Mzungu, who was recently called in for questioning by the Malawi police. Watibaso, good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm very good.
Thank you so much.
Do tell me, recently, we were just discussing with my colleague Masozi Kasambala, and he did say that 20 journalists have been, arrested. 20 journalists have been harassed in one way or the other, but perpetrators are not coming forward. So, what really transpired?
Okay, for me, I wrote a story on the 1st of April this year, in which I quoted Mr. Sylvester Namiwa, who is the Executive Director of the Center for Development and Economic Development Initiative, CDED. Yes, so in his statement, he referred to the head of state as a time waster. And he referred to the president as a time waster, a joker, and a comedian. Now, when I wrote that article, I was called in. So they said, okay, the police, the head of the CID at the National Police Headquarters in Lilongwe asked me a question to say, how did you feel to write this story? I mean, were you comfortable to write this story that...
were you arrested or not?
It was not necessarily an arrest, but I was summoned and questioned.
How did you feel as a journalist?
I should be very, very frank with you. They rang me at 9:30 p.m. 21:13 evening, and for me, honestly speaking, I was so traumatized, intimidated, and I felt like I didn't know what would happen to me tomorrow.
Okay, so that's what the person. So we'll pick up that conversation later on. But I'll be joined by Job Frank Chakaza. He is a veteran journalist and a director of programs at Zodiak programs. Good evening, Job.
Good evening. You're making me feel old by saying I'm a veteran. And
You're old.
I have served long enough, but I'm not a veteran yet.
Okay. Oh, no, come on. You've some experience with the BBC, a short stint with BBC.
Yes, I did.
I want to find out.
Yes.
30 years anniversary this year since the Windhoek Declaration in 1991, where they were saying, the media should be pluralistic, free, as well as independent.
Yes.
In your time as a journalist, how have you? How would you say we have fared as a country?
Well, I think we're doing well so far. When we were starting, like Zodiak, for example, in 2005, we didn't have many television stations. I was a pioneer at Zodiak. We didn't have many radio stations. We didn't have many television. Actually, at that time, we only had MBC as a national broadcaster. Now we've got a number of television stations. Even radio has grown in Malawi. When we were starting, the biggest radio station at that time was MBC and a few other radio stations. But now I think we really have achieved that growth in numbers, and I think so far we're doing well. I think there are a few things that we might want to discuss a little bit later on, but so far in terms of numbers, I think we're doing fine.
So what should we expect tonight?
I think it's going to be, it's going to be a glamorous event, and I see that the chairperson of the Media Institute of Southern Africa,
our view, we're going to take you to the chairperson of the Media Institute of Southern Africa, Teresa Temugandanga, to give us a speech.
Mr. Malawi Lifetime Achiever Award. UNAIDS Country Director, who is here in his capacity as chairperson of the UN Communications Group, Mr. Nuha Sise. Director of Communications at State House, Sean Kampondeni. Deputy Director in the Ministry of Information, Arthur Chipenda. Chairperson of the Media Council of Malawi, Wisdom Chingwede. In a special way, veteran journalist, Mr. Al Osman, who in 1991 signed the Windhoek Declaration on behalf of Malawi. Partners and sponsors, media colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Happy World Press Freedom Day. Guests of honor, the past 7 months have been really, really difficult for the media fraternity in Malawi. We have lost a total of 11 colleagues since the last Gala dinner in October of 2020. We lost some of our colleagues to the COVID-19 pandemic. It is therefore with deep sorrow that I wish to ask that we observe a minute of silence for the souls of the following colleagues: Chris Chawango, James Chimpweya, Mayamiko Majawa, Maria Shizanja Nkoma, Reverend Patrick Sempere, DJ Kenny Clips, Juliet Royal, Chelokani Mita, Ambassador Tony Candiero, Felix Mponda, and Limbani Moya. May we please stand and observe a minute of silence. Thank you very much, and may their souls rest in eternal peace. Guest of honor, as you know, this year's World Press Freedom Day marks the 30th anniversary of the Windhoek Declaration. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the Windhoek Declaration, where fellow journalists back then demanded that African governments should let the media operate independently. One of the signatures on the declaration, as I mentioned earlier on, is Mr. Al Osman's, a Malawian media guru. As you may recall, most governments in Africa were at that time under dictatorial rule. After the signing event in Namibia, Mr. Osman got a call through his hotel room. The voice on the other end said to Mr. Osman, "You better not return home." To this day, Mr. Osman doesn't know who that person was. But he did not travel home as planned. It was only after the intervention by the Botswana government, where Mr. Osman had previously worked, and the US Embassy, that he did return home. Over the years, Mr. Osman continued to fight for media independence and sustainability, and it therefore did not come as a surprise when the MISA regional office in Namibia awarded him the Lifetime Achiever Award. So today, as we commemorate the 30th anniversary, let us remember that the press freedom that we enjoy today came at a cost for those who laid the way. And so please join me in thanking Mr. Osman. If you are around, please do stand. Thank you very much. Guest of honor, we wish to thank government for the strides we have seen in the last few months. The operationalization of the Access to Information Act was a clear demonstration by the Tose Alliance administration of the desire to ensure a transparent and accountable government. It is also commendable that the president has been accessible to the local press, and as a routine, often addresses the nation on topical issues. State House weekly briefings have also improved the media's access to the president and the government. It was refreshing to hear the State House Director of Communication earlier during our debate that he found merit in our concerns of prior submission of questions by the media for the weekly briefings. This is a commendable direction, Director. Guest of honor, as we celebrate the strides, there are also challenges that the media continues to face. From January 2020 to now, 20 journalists have faced various forms of attacks in the 13 incidences that we recorded. 5 of these incidents were perpetrated by state institutions, the ruling party, party officials and supporters under the DPP regime, 2 incidents by the general public prior to the fresh presidential election, and 6 have been perpetrated by the general public, Tonse Alliance supporters, and state institutions during the current administration. Just to cite one case, an intern who had just joined Alinafe radio station in Lilongwe, Denzo Kilasi, was physically assaulted by police officers as he covered a demonstration by public primary school learners. The officers assaulted him even after he presented his work ID. Now you can all agree that this is a bad way to launch your career. Guests of honor, no one in any of these incidences has been prosecuted to date. Through the Ministry of Information, I would like to ask the current administration to put an end to the culture of impunity. Why are perpetrators of attacks on journalists protected? We need not to remind our president or our vice president or our line minister that inaction when a journalist is attacked is a demonstration that our leaders are on the side of the perpetrator. If my assumption here is incorrect, then Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, our Minister of Information, act and prosecute. Only then shall we be able to set you apart from the perpetrator. That said, let me thank President Lazarus Chakwera, who has contributed 1 million kwacha towards this year's celebrations, and Vice President Saulos Chilima, who has contributed 600,000 towards this event. A hand for them. The President has further contributed 2 million kwacha towards the second phase of the Nkhani House project, which is currently at window level. Our hope is that in future, Mr. Malawi should be able to operate a journalism school. Mr. Malawi also greatly appreciates the support that our partners and sponsors have accorded us. As you can see right behind me, we don't take it for granted. For fellow journalists who win tonight, congratulations in advance. It is my sincere hope that the awards will continue to motivate the fraternity to continue to perfect the art. Thank you very much, and once again, happy World Press Freedom Day.
Another round of applause for Mr. Chairperson, Mrs. Teresa Ndanga. I would like to quote one Albert Camus, who once said, "A free press can, of course, be good or bad, but most certainly, without freedom, the press will never be anything but bad." At this point in time, I would like to tell you a little, it's not a little story, but just something you would like to know before the next speaker comes. So we were at school at Malawi Institute of Journalism, and most of the time when we are waiting for our next lecture, we would sit outside the classes. And when we see that our lecture is coming, and this one was for media and ethics, I think Roger Siula can agree with me, everybody would get into class. Why? It's because when he finds you that you're not in class, you're not going to attend his class. And that's none other than Dr. Levi Zeleza-Manda. I want to call forward Dr. Levi Zeleza-Manda, who is going to give us a keynote address. As the Mr. Chairperson said, he is the one who got the Lifetime Achiever in 2018. His contribution to the media industry in Malawi cannot be overemphasized. Can I call forward Dr. Levi Zeleza-Manda, please? Dr. Manda.
Thanks very much, Dorothy. Case of honor, PS responsible for e-governance, Madam Telezandanga, chairwoman or chairperson for Mr. Malawi, representatives of foreign missions around here, business and industry captains, if you're available, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Happy 30th World Press Freedom Day. I'm a teacher, so I'll do two things at the same time. I'll teach and talk. We are here to celebrate freedom of expression, media freedom, and an independent professional journalism. Four things: freedom of expression, media freedom, and independent professional journalism. 30 years ago, 63 African journalists and editors and publishers gathered in Windhoek for a conference, from where they came up with the idea of the Windhoek Declaration. Among the people that were there, they celebrated Osman, but we have left out one woman. She's now serving at the UN, and this is Janet Karim. There were two people there that signed on our behalf. From what I heard, the delegation from Malawi had more than 5 people. 2 people to contribute, 3 people to monitor the contribution of these contributors. In short, we have come from very far away. So, one of the things that happened that time is that our other people also met in other areas, trying to come up with similar declarations. But the African one was the most powerful declaration, that even the UN said, yes, we are going to have this one as an international declaration calling for press freedom in the world. So, because of that, in 1993, the day was called Press Freedom, World Press Freedom Day. So I think we should clap hands for ourselves, because it is us Africans that made this declaration to be done in the world. Now, when this happened, we sat, Osman and other people, we sat in the other room of Njamba. We said, okay, this thing has been done, acceptable. What do we do to operationalize these things? So in 1994, when Dorothy was, I think, a small baby, we sat there and it said we'll do it in 3 phases. 3 things that we would do is create a school of journalism, so that we train everybody that was not trained before. The late Moland Nkata used to call them grave diggers and others that were in journalism. So train them. That is how MIJ came into action. So if you want to know the history of MIJ, that was the beginning. The second one was the creation of a safe regulatory mechanism for the journalist. Everybody was excited. We were very happy. We would insert everybody. Then he said, we need to police ourselves. But if we get policed by government, we'll be arrested. If we get policed by the police, we'll be arrested. So let's now do it our own. That's why we have now Media Council of Malawi, which Wisdom is now heading. It is from the same source. Thirdly, we said we should have a union. This union should be fighting for decent wages and decent condition of service. That's why we have the Journalists Union of Malawi. It is still there. It's limping, but limping is not falling. In 1997, MISA Malawi was established in Lilongwe at Onions Complex. And out of faith and trust for the land road, MISA was there until, I think, 2019. Very trustworthy client. But their job was to fight for freedom of expression and ensure that the gains made from Windhoek were not lost. Now, one of the biggest things that Mr. embarked on was to make sure that we had an Access to Information Act, which we have fought for, others died for, been jailed for, and luckily this government this year has made sure this act is now in operation. 1998, the Malawi Media Women's Association, MAMA, with the support from UNESCO, established the first community radio station at Zimwe. So the oldest community radio station was actually established by the women in the media. If you are a woman, clap for yourself. So we can see that the Windhoek Declaration has defined and guided our media development in Malawi. Before 1991, we had one radio station, and you know it. Today, we have over 80. In some districts, there are even 4. In Mangosh, I think there are 4 community radio stations fighting for the same community. In Nsanje, there are 2. Zomba, I think there are 4 as well. Before 1991, we had only 1 newspaper, and you know it. Today, we have 3. But in between 1992 and 1994, we had over 22 newspapers. We had no local TV. I heard that at Sanjik, at least they were watching, but we didn't know. But we now have 18 operational TV stations. Today, we can listen to radio, we can watch TV, read newspapers online. Things have changed. Journalism, we have trained. Almost the whole of this, everybody in this room has a certificate or a degree. So we are not worse than the people that are in England, in Jamaica, or whatever. We are equal. All this is because of that. Guest of honor, let's remember one thing, that information drives and is the oxygen of business. Most people don't know this. Without information, there cannot be business, there cannot be agriculture, there cannot be health, no development, nothing social, international relations can't be there. Here I'm talking about reliable and ethically packaged information, not just any information. Properly investigated information where evidence or fact tell the story more than the opinions of people, no matter how tall or big or small or short that person is. An opinion is an opinion, it's not a fact. Now, for journalists and media outlets to provide the reliable information to the citizens of this country, they need some independence from political and corporate interest. The interest of the media should be in the public itself and not any other grouping of people. Now, may I now ask you this question? If we look at ourselves for the things that we have done over 30 years, do you believe we have done well? If you asked me, not in this conference, but outside, somewhere, do you yourself believe we have done well? My answer will be yes. Considering the problems that we have in this country, we have done very well. We have won awards, international awards. Our investigations have led to the fall of governments. Our government fell in this country because of what we did. There is also a change of policy because of us, what we did. And we have saved public resources because of that. We have worked with the government, NGOs, to communicate public health information. If you ask how today, in 1992, 93, if you wanted the information from the police, you had to ask one person called Oliver Soko, and he lived in Lilongwe. We, the people, said we wanted to have spokespersons in every ministry and department. Today we have all over, except in OPC. So OPC, you are lagging behind, have a spokesperson for that office. We have, no matter what people say about us, we have at MBC a program that is very good, despite their scandals and small things that they do there. But if you look at Reach Out and Touch, you'll be touched, because that program has directed and focused attention on the underprivileged in our society. So we are doing well. Reach Out and Touch is just an example, but there are many, many other that I would mention. But in this very country, in 1999, there was a team that was formed by the Ministry of Information to start campaigning for one party, the UDF. That was the beginning of disaster for Malawi, because they formed a disinformation team. Some of the members of that team are still alive, and they could be here as well. If I see them, I'll point at them. But I haven't seen one yet. Since then, people have thought, journalists think that if you join a campaign team, you get more money and you defame each other. Such that there is no distinction now at times between a party supporter and a journalist. There were some who could even wear the colors of the party to attend a meeting and prefer to sit in front so that all the cameras zoom on them. That is not what journalism should be. The theme we have today, information as a public good, is very challenging and gives us an opportunity to reclaim our true journalism robes. Thank you, sir. Robes by providing untainted and reliable information. At the time, social media platforms are full of disinformation, misinformation, hate speech. Ordinary Malawians expect you and me to be the proverbial lamp that casts the light in the darkness. Finally, guest of honor, let me emphasize that the journalists you see here are ready to provide information to the public, good information like they have done always. My only appeal to our government and other stakeholders, and please note this, please provide an environment that keeps all media houses floating. Government, as the biggest advertiser in Malawi, should not discriminate when giving out advertising. It is killing other smaller media organizations. So it's up to us, up to government, to ensure that all these people receive adverts. You know, more advertising means more income for the media, and therefore better salaries and other motivating conditions for journalists. Low salaries and poor conditions of service demotivate journalists. Even some of us who have been running up and down doing this job, that just is because we are running away from poverty. So don't blame journalists always that they're not being ethical when actually you don't pay them well. Ziponda Mtengo comes in because asinganga aliko. I would like to thank the Ministry of Information for successfully intervening in the mobile data pricing. But in the spirit of the Windhoek Declaration, I ask the ministry and the government to kindly convince the Minister of Finance so that he factors in the 2021-2022 budget tax waivers on newsprint, news production hardware, radio and TV transmission equipment, and other tools of the trade. This is where our journalism and our media houses are struggling a lot. I also appeal to businesses available here to earnestly support media training and development to make media professional and viable. Let's remember, this is my last point. Let's remember that viable media is a media freedom and freedom of expression issue. Viable media will provide the right information to the public and absorb more graduates from the training institutions and thereby contribute to the 1 million plus jobs that government is fighting to create. Guest of honor, Chair Lady, Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Levi Zelezamanda. Another round of applause for Dr. Levi Zelezamanda. As we commemorate the World Press Freedom Day today, there were a number of activities that happened earlier today. There was a march that happened in the morning, and then a debate. And all this, including this gala dinner, have been made possible with our sponsors. Let's give a round of applause for all our sponsors. And as Dr. Levi Zelezamanda was giving his keynote speak, and the MISA chairperson, they mentioned the United Nations as one of the key sponsors to MISA Malawi ever since its inception. Let's give a round of applause to UN. UN has been there since MISA's inception in 1997 up to date. And tonight, we are going to have the UN Communications Group Chairperson, who is also UNAIDS Country Director, Mr. Nuha Sise. Mr. Sise, it's your time.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. But I have a bone to pick with you. How could you have before me such eloquent speakers who have taken all the points that we have spent days preparing, and now you have left me in limbo, not knowing exactly where to start? So I think, we'll have to have a bilateral with you after that. Having said that, the chairperson of MISA, the guest of honor, Francis Bisika, who is also the principal secretary at the Ministry of Information and under this section, I think, e-government. Let me also acknowledge our special guest of honor, who has actually given us the historical context on the evolution of the media in this country. It is very refreshing to know that indeed we started a long way, and today, as we are here recognizing and celebrating the good work that has been done, we should also reflect on those who have actually paved the way. Let me also recognize all of you eminent guests who have really come to grace this occasion. It is refreshing to know that not only are you here in your capacity as journalists, but you also have a huge following, and the following is what really makes you come up, to really make sure that, you're able to give information that is accurate, reliable, and timely. Let me also recognize my colleagues from the UN House, the UN Communication Group. They have been working behind the scene to support this initiative. And I think, it goes without saying that, for the UN, it is fundamental that, we support press freedom, because it is enshrined in our values, and there is no other way that we can actually reach our goals without ensuring that information that is accurate and reliable is not suppressed in any way. No matter how uncomfortable that information is, it has to be delivered in a manner that would benefit most of the people who may not really have, the opportunity to see the difference. I would like to narrow my statement around a few areas. As I said earlier, when you come before eminent personalities, they would have finished all the points. Therefore, you may want to come up with a plan B. And so my plan B really is to look at a few things. I think, you know, we've heard how our colleagues said that, you know, in 1991, that's where a lot started. The African Declaration, which saved the world today. And as we celebrate, you know, press freedom, we also recognize that, you know, lives have been lost. Journalists have gone through a lot of pain, a pain that really has opened up, you know, our perspective to understand that it is not just to complete school and pick a pen and become a journalist. It takes a lot to be a journalist. A journalist is a person who has committed his or her life to transforming humanity by making access to information that is available in a timely manner that will change their lives. However, we know we have challenges. Our sensational headlines, most of the time we would say, bad news sells. But it is not bad news that we want to give all the time to be able to sell our papers. What we want is information that transforms lives. Information that brings about democracy. Information that holds our duty bearers accountable. Information that makes all of us as citizens accountable and be prepared to tell the truth, no matter how difficult it is. We cannot triumph without taking stock of what we are all about. Today, we have seen how social media has actually transformed the world. Sometimes you sit down and you see a piece of news and you ask yourself, can I really trust this? Why? Because everybody has access to something and everybody is a journalist overnight without necessarily having the training, but they just want to be the first. Let me be the first, let me capture the headlines. And to capture the headlines without necessarily verifying your content is indeed very misleading and dangerous to democratic dispensation. Today we are here to recognize all the good work that some of you have done, and some of you would be awarded on the basis of the hard work that you have done. But some of you may actually go without any award. I think, you know, for you who may not get any award, there is no loser in this business. It is to inspire us more to say next time I am going to be adequately prepared so that, you know, I can really change the world with the information that I have. It is the pen and the mic that are shaping the world today. The pen and the mic. And then, of course, the pen, you can actually extend it to the keyboard. That mobile device that you have today is capable of really transforming the world in a very positive way or in a very negative way. And so let me move on to the next point that I want to say. As far as, you know, the UN is concerned, we have zero tolerance for the suppression of freedom of expression. And this is actually enshrined in our core values, and that's why we have come here to support this initiative. We also feel that to attain the Sustainable Development Goals, we need a very strong media. It is a strong media that will create awareness around the Sustainable Development Goals, but it is also a strong media that will really challenge us if we are not making progress towards, you know, meeting the Sustainable Development Goals. And therefore, your role in holding our leaders accountable is very critical, but your role in ensuring that the information that you disseminate meets the highest standard and that it would not put you into trouble, not because you have said the truth, but because what you have said cannot be verified. We know that as a UN, we stand with you in solidarity and we recognize the good work that the government of Malawi is actually doing. The fact that, you know, we have, you know, an access to information law is very, very encouraging. And we look forward, you know, to collaborating with the government to create, you know, the enabling platform that would make the media triumph in this dispensation. We also know that when we report, we want to report not for those who have access to the TV or to the mobile phone. What about those people who are left behind? They are many, many miles away. How do we reach to them? What kind of information do we give them? How are they able to understand this information? How are they able to digest it so that it can be meaningful to them? It is not the information that goes into sell a product, but it's information that transforms their life. Therefore, we have seen how these years we have evolved from various pandemics that would capture the very big media houses headlines to the COVID that we are dealing with today. There has been a lot of misconception about COVID to a point that we don't even know what to believe anymore. Yet still, it is you who are holding the pen and the mic who can help us. Today, we want to create demand for vaccine. But there is a lot of misconception. How do you come in and help us create demand for the vaccine? I think our colleague, the chair of MISA, has highlighted how COVID has ravaged the world, including having its toll on the media houses. Losing about 7 colleagues is really a very serious issue. But there are many more who are dying on a daily basis. And I'm sure most of you are following the events that are happening globally. And this is why we in Malawi have an opportunity to come up with initiatives that will support government and development partners to accelerate efforts towards controlling COVID. Without that, we are going to face numerous challenges. We have the vaccines and people are not taking the vaccines because they are scared. And then what happens when those vaccines are not delivered, they get expired, and it is again huge cost to our development because this money that would have been used for other things would now be used to order more vaccines that would have, again, may require your support in ensuring that we're able to reach to the people who need them most. I would like to conclude by really thanking all of you and to celebrate the good work that we have done. It is not easy. I think our special guest of honor has highlighted the challenges that we face in our democratic dispensation. The media sometimes would find itself on the wrong side of the law, not because what you are reporting is not accurate or fair, but because you chose to report what should be reported and not to favor anyone. And this sometimes comes with a price, but we encourage you. There is no other option. It is either you compromise your ethical position and really expose the whole country, or you stand very firm and protect your values and ensure that the country triumphs because the information that you are giving is going to transform lives. And that is why journalism is as important as any other dispensation. We cannot really have good governance if we don't have press freedom. We cannot really meet our sustainable development goals if we don't have a press that is free, but also independent and reliable. These, for us as the UN, are areas that we will really work with you to support. I would like to also commend our judges who are here today. They have really, they're going to show us how they have chosen the media houses or the representative who have actually stood out very prominently in all the good work that you have done. It is not an easy, because everybody is good in their own way. But at the end of the day, we just have to choose one or two. And therefore, we want to thank you for actually accepting this challenge. And to our UN colleagues, today we celebrate you for really standing hand in hand with the media in Malawi, and to ensure that as we work towards meeting the Sustainable Development Goals, we are doing it together and we are not leaving anyone behind. Because leaving anyone behind means that we would not be able to really transform life. We will not be able to really ensure that everybody in this country lives to really achieve the Malawi that we want. I thank you for your attention, and we look forward to really strengthening our collaboration and partnership. Together, we can actually make a difference. Together, we can guarantee press freedom. Together, we can ensure that democracy triumphs because the media is free and independent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sise. I can assure you that Dr. Manda, after hearing your speech, would like to come back and give a few remarks. Thank you so much for that speech. Another round of applause for Mr. Sise. Apart from the UN sponsorship, we have other organizations and companies that sponsored today's events. I will mention just a few. Lilongwe Water Board. Let's give them a round of applause. And we also have National Bank, a round of applause for National Bank. We also have Oxfam, a round of applause for Oxfam. And National AIDS Commission, Malawi Revenue Authority, Plan International, and also National Initiative for Civic Education, NICE. There are others, and we'll mention them as we go with the program. At this point in time, it is my singular honor to call forward the guest of honor tonight, the PS for e-government, Mr. Francis Bisika, to give his speech. Mr. Bisika.
The Miss Malawi Chairperson, Madam Teresa Ndanga, and Miss Malawi National Governing Council members, Media Council of Malawi Chairperson, Mr. Wisdom Chingwede, UN Communications Group Chairperson, and UNAIDS Country Director, Mr. Nuha Sise, our keynote speaker, Dr. Levi Seleza Manda, State House Communications Director, Mr. Sean Kampondeni, and all senior government officials, head of media houses and media managers, esteemed media colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. When the Minister of Information asked me to represent him, I did ask him, what should I say? And he said, you can say anything as long as you say the best. So I said, no, I think I'll need your team to prepare a speech for me because I'm not a journalist, so I'll need a prepared speech. But before I go to my prepared speech, I just want to share with you some views that I have as a person. Number one, the journalist, you must be one of the lucky professionals to have a journalist as your line minister. I see that as a very good advantage, and I see that as something that you should take advantage of to make sure that you get your way into whatever you've never gotten before. Number two, I've heard the saying, a pen is mightier than a sword. But is that still true now? I don't think so. I think now a keyboard is mightier than a sword. Number three, journalism, I look at it as a calling. You really have to make a strong decision to become a journalist. Being a journalist is like being a soldier where you have to go on the front line and risk being shot for the sake of others. So, colleagues, you allow me now to go back to my written speech, but there have been a few other things that have been raised before that, being somebody from government, I would also take time to try and comment on. One thing again that I would like to appreciate from all of you is that I am really grateful being the man in charge of ICT in government. I really want to congratulate the media houses and all journalism for embracing digital communication. I think reading a newspaper online or getting information online should not be a privilege. It should be a right. I mean, you have seen what the COVID has done. We need to now embrace a lot of more digital journalism. And as government, we are there and open to assist you to go that way. Ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly honored to join you tonight and represent the Minister of Information, who is your parliamentarian. If I look at this as a constituency, so you have a good parliamentarian in Parliament. Honorable Kazako could not make it to this moment because he's away on a private business. As media fraternity, we are tonight paying homage and special recognition to our colleagues whose work has been outstanding in the past year. This award ceremony serves as a reminder to us all of the pivotal role that the media play in every part of our lives. Today is also a special day as we have joined the rest of the world in commemorating World Press Freedom Day. This special day gives us a golden opportunity every year to appreciate our media, but also reflect on how, as a nation, we can assure that our media is operating freely without any interference, but at the same time being ethical and professional at all times. This year's commemoration is even more special to Malawi because our Access to Information Act is now operational after the Minister of Information appointed September 30, 2020 as the commencement date for the Act and gazetted the ATI regulations on January 14 this year. Ladies and gentlemen, government strongly believes that having a functional and operational access to information policy and the regulatory framework offers us a great opportunity to solidify our democracy and create an environment in which the media can flourish. This year's theme, Information as a Public Good, is therefore relevant to our situation. As a nation, we should ensure that every Malawian enjoys fully their right to access information. Access to information will not only benefit Malawians in the realization of their rights, but will go a long way to help us have an empowered nation that is able to make decisions from an informed point of view. It is therefore critical for Malawi to make access to information a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, the flow of information would be meaningless without having a free, independent, and professional media at the center of it all. As a country, we need to strive to create a conducive environment in which the media can flourish both as a source of information and as an economic entity. Government is fully aware that Malawi's media industry, just like all over the world, has in the past year been heavily affected economically due to the effects of the COVID-19. Government is ready to engage the media in Malawi and see how best together we can come up with solutions to ease off the burden that COVID-19 has exerted on the industry. I would, however, be failing in my duty this evening if I don't express my gratitude and that of the government to our media for standing together with government and ensuring that COVID-19 messages reach out to every corner of the country and in the process save lives. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a night for long speeches, as we are all anxious to get to the words, to get to the awards. But before we get to that part, allow me to say that the government is also fully aware of several archaic pieces of legislation that the media, through MISA, has complained about that they infringe on press freedom and freedom of speech. I wish to assure you that government will be consulting our legal minds and you, the affected industry, to come up with a lasting solution to a free and independent media, but also have a legal framework that protects citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, it is critical that media freedom and independence are exercised with utmost responsibility and aimed at building our nation. We are all fully aware of what a powerful and influential tool the media is on the people, and we are also fully aware of the countless cases of destruction that has been caused by irresponsible media. Let us therefore aspire to be a nation that has a free and responsible press, as well as people that is free to express itself as provided for in our Constitution. That's the end of my written speech, but allow me, Chair and the keynote speaker, just to respond to a few things that were raised in the previous speeches. One of them was the one that I picked up, having come from the IT side, the rising cost of data. It is very true that data in Malawi is very costly. And as government, we have twice engaged the operators to see if they could do something to the data. We engaged them in November, and both of them on average reduced the price of data by close to 67%. We engaged them again this year in February, and again they reduced the price of data by almost 33%. But our thought as government is the way they structure these prices is not benefiting the common villager. Like the current structure of only reducing the 1 gig 30 days bundle. How about the people that are buying 30 meg or 50 meg? So we continue to engage them. And then the other thing is the issue of classifying the bundle, saying, no, this one is for students, this one is for religious, this one is for night, this one. We don't think it's a good way of doing business. A price should not be tied to a particular group. I mean, if Irovo said this blade is for student, this sugar is for student, that sugar is for priest, it doesn't work like that. There must be a common price. And we do understand that there are costs that are tied to providing that service. And as government, we're doing all the best in trying to remove most of the barriers. There was a request to see if government could consider reducing taxes. Minister of Finance have got their own way of reducing taxes, which I may not comment about, but I can comment on what we're doing as Minister of Information. As Minister of Information, we are trying to make the cost of equipment, communication equipment, so the equipment that is used for printing and for other things, we want that to be reasonable prices by lobbying for reduction of other taxes in that. So we are working on that. But over and above all, we have realized that the industry that you play in broadcasting, radio, print media, is not profitable. And I can tell you, like I know as a fact, that most of the broadcasters that have got no other business, they struggle. The broadcasters that are doing well are the ones that have maybe other businesses, that have got courier, that have got print media, that have got radio. But if you are just in the broadcasting, it doesn't make reasonable. And one of the reasons that is happening is because our broadcasting is free to air. When the same people in the same sector, like MultiChoice, GoTV, they are charging. So as government, we take a note of that, and we really want to assure you that we're going to ensure that people also have to pay for the local channels, because you use the same equipment and you use the same skills, why should you pay for the other one and not pay for the others? But we also would want, when it comes to that moment, we would want to see quality of service so that the people should be happy on what they're paying. With those few remarks, I would like to thank all of you for your listening. But again, let me assure you, our office as Minister of Information, we are open. We are operating in an environment where we have tried to remove all barriers that stop people from seeing us. So we don't expect you to make any appointment, a phone call, WhatsApp, or text message or email. You'll be welcome. Me as a person, my office is always open, not for free chair, but for people to come in and express their views, and we'll be able to take them on board and see that every aspect of the journalism sector prospers. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, PSE government, Mr. Francis Bisika. Another round of applause for Mr. Bisika. As you were talking about the data issue, I know most of the journalists in here can agree with me that we really have been struggling to get data. Actually, if you are not going to talk about the classification of the bundles, we wanted to say that we are going to lobby for MISA bundles. I think that was going to help us a lot. Thank you so much. Our guest of honor, PS4E government, our keynote speaker, Dr. Levi Zelezamanda, the UN Community Chairperson, Mr. Nuha Sise, media managers present here, our judges, colleagues in the media, all invited guests.
Ameneo anali nkumaliza wenkhulaja anali Francis Bisika iwo ndi mlembi munduna wa zofalitsa nkhani iwowa abweratu kuno ngati mlendo wapadera kuyimirira nduna ya zofalitsa nkhani mwenso ndi mneneri wa boma a Gospel Kazako. Iwowa amakambako posachedwa hapa mu nkhani yokhudza data must fall, ndiye akuti aye akuyesetsa ngati boma kuchita mbali yawo. Viewer, dear listener on Zodiac broadcasting station, that was Mr. Francis Bisika. He is the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Information. He touched a little bit on the data prices that are actually, he has considered that data prices in Malawi are on the high side. So he said government is trying its best to make sure that data prices are reduced. But I'm also going to be joined by my colleague once more, Masozi Kasamba, just to elaborate. We heard speeches from a few speakers, one of them, Teresa Danga, who is the chairperson for MISA Malawi. Do tell us, what was the highlight in her speech?
Yes, correct. Perhaps before we get to the chairperson, Teresa Ndanga, just an emphasis on the speech that came from the guest of honor, Mr. Francis Bisika. He really did mention about the issue of data to say it is high. And as government, it is not impressed the way the reductions have been effected by the operators. For instance, he did bemoan the situation whereby a certain group of people is only the one that is considered. For instance, we're talking about data being reduced for a month. What about these other villagers who are not able to have access to that for a month? So he did mention to say, as government, it will continue engaging operators. Apart from that, another critical point that the guest of honor did mention has to do with the archaic laws that do govern the operations of the media in this country. He mentions that he did indicate that it is aware, as government is aware about all the complaints that are coming from the media through MISA Malawi, to say that a lot of archaic laws that are impinging on the freedoms of the press
and ought to be addressed.
Again?
And they need to be addressed on that.
Exactly. He emphasized that the government, the next step that it is taking is to engage legal minds to see how best a win-win situation can be framed out of this.
Let's get to Teresa. What did she say?
Okay. In the first place, she mentioned about 11 souls or 11 journalists that have been lost in the past 12 months. That is a great loss to the media fraternity.
Then we suffered a couple of blows, even at Zodiak. Maria Chisanjangoma.
Exactly. You can't be talking about the media in this country without mentioning Maria Chisanjangoma. She started her media career with the MBC. From there, she went to Channel Africa. She came back to Malawi with the Radio Maria. Then she finished her career with the Zodiac Broadcasting Station. So it was another great loss.
Amene mukutionera komanso kutimvera pa Zodiac tilitu ku Mount Sochi Hotel komwe tili pa chimake pamene tikuyandikira chimake pomwe atolankhani omwe achita bwino chaka chino akhale akupatsidwa mphoto zosiyanasiyana zomwe zayikidwa kutsogolo kumbuyo kwangako. Pali ma categories kapena tinene kuti mndandanda osiyanasiyana omwe tikhale tikuonerera madzulo alero usiku walero ndiye mwina mwachidule kwambiri tanguti benthulirako Teresa Temwekandanga yemwe ndi wapampando wa Misa Malawi ana kambanji mu speech yake.
Kumayambiriro Teresa anakambapo za chisoni chomwe ali nacho mmalo mwa atolankhani onse malingana kuti miyezi 12 yadusayi tata atolankhani okwana 11 onsewo anatisiya atolankhani oziwa ntchito yawo komanso atolankhani kuti anangoyamba kumene. So ndi nkhani yachisoni imwe anayipereka ku nyumba ino. Kupatulapo anazakambapo za nkhanza zomwe akukumana nazo atolankhani osiyanasiyana kuti zimakhala zodabwisa kuti atolankhani achidula chipongwe mwinanso ndi anthu ogwira ntchito mboma koma chomwe chimachitika makhala kuti nkhani zija zangofera mazira ochita zakupandaja ochita zamtopolaja mwina palibe chilango chomwe chikuperekedwa. Ndi anapempha mtsogoleri wa dziko lino Dr. Lazarus Chakwera komanso nthambi zonse okhuza za boma kuti aonesese kuti ufulu wa atolankhani ukulemekezedwa mdziko muno.
Francis Bisiga omwe ndi mlembi mu nduna wazofalitsa nkhani akambaponso nawo chakumapeta kupeta kuja amakambapo za data kapena tinene kuti mitengo yomwe anthu amagulitsa ntchito ya internet. Mochidule anakamba kuti chani?
Anachura futo ziwiri zofunika kwambiri. Yoyambira ndi omwe kukamba yoti mitengo yogulitsa ntchito pa internet kapena kuti mabando kapena kuti madata iyi kumakhala yosalingana ndi kapezedwe ka Malawi akuti wakhala kukambirana ndi makampani amene akukhuzidwa ndi nkhani ngati zimenezi koma chodandaula choti ngakhale mitongo asisako koma angosisa kwa kagulu kochepa chabe anthu omwe ndiopeza bwino ndi kale ndamene akukhala ngati akupindula chifukwa chisanza kuti akusisire bwena kugule bando ya mwezi wonse nanga ena omwe sangathe kukwanisa bando yoteroyo zizikhala motani. Komanso anakambapo za malamulo achikalekale osagwirizana ndi mfundo za demokrasi chifukwa kuziwa kuti ifeyo ngati boma la Malawi kuchola zaka za 1890 pomwe malamulo dazungu kenaka 1964 kubwera kwa ulamulo wa chipani chimodzi kenaka 1994 pomwe boma la zipani zambiri linalowa mdziko muno kachidwe ka zinthu sikangakhale kofanana. Ndi ena mwa malamulo amene tikugwiritsa ntchito kumalawi kunoko pa ntchito za utolankhani ndi achikalekale osagwirizana ndi kayendetsedwe ka boma la demokrasi. Ndi anakamba kuti iwowo ngati boma akambirana ndi maloya kumbali ya boma kuti aone kuti choyenera kuchitika nchani kuti malamulo okomera Malawi onse akhazikitsidwe.
Our viewer, dear listener on Zodiac, we are at Mount Sochi Hotel. We are about to reach the climax of this night, the World Press Freedom Day. We've gone through the Freedom March. We had a panel discussion where media pundits, the Mesa Chairperson Teresa Ndanga, there was Media Council of Malawi Chairperson Wisdom Chingweda, as well as State House Director of Communication Shoni Kamponi, had to dissect several issues that are affecting the country. But one thing that is unique with this World Press Freedom Day this year is that it is the 30th anniversary since the Windhoek Declaration was made in Namibia. Like before we went into speeches, I was talking to my colleague, Joe Frank Chakaza. He is hating to call him a pioneer, or rather a veteran.
A veteran. But I guess I just have to accept it now.
You are a veteran.
I am.
You ought to accept that.
Yeah,
you just have to.
I have been I've been advised to accept that I'm a
Yes,
veteran.
yes,
Yes, please, sure.
Okay, so I was asking, I did pose a question to you earlier on to say, how would you say the media has fared
Sure.
in the past 30 years? I'm sure you must have not been part of the first 15 years, but the better half of it. How have we progressed as a media in Malawi? How have we progressed as a country in terms of media freedom?
So I think generally the way I look at it, the larger the number of players in the media space, the more the choices for people to access information. So now we've got specific networks that are catering for the young people, the older generation, the religious community, and all kinds of people. So people now have got a choice which radio station they want to tune to, which television they want to watch.
So we're talking about pluralism.
Yes, so we're talking about pluralism, and I think that also breeds a sense of competition among the media players themselves. In the past, when there were not many media houses around, well, people could relax because they knew there's nobody to compete with us. I mean, everybody around the country is listening to us. But now, you snooze, you lose. Any single slip, and you lose your audience. So the pluralism has created, I believe, better content, better competition, healthy competition among media players. But also the consumers they are spoiled for choice. They can listen to any network they want to listen to that suits their taste.
Now, in as far as democracy is concerned, pluralism, wide discourse of coverage. How has the media, contributed to democracy in Malawi? We are talking about 1991, and then this was almost at the dawn of multi-party democracy, just 3 years shy. How would you say we have contributed to democracy in this country?
You cannot divorce the democracy that we've achieved from the media. The media plays a great role, and the media is the one that was in the forefront, giving people an opportunity, the space, so that people can speak their mind. Of course, when the multi-party democracy dispensation was just coming in, it was really difficult. People were not willing to talk. People didn't want to be recognized. Their faces, they didn't want their faces to show and all that kind of stuff. But the media contributed significantly to creating an environment where people could speak freely and, highlighting the ills of the government of the day. And I think we're here because of the media. We could never have achieved this without the media. They really played a big role. And we must also acknowledge the role that the media played in amplifying the voices of the ordinary person to the outer community.
Voice to the suppressed voices.
Exactly. And the international community was also following what was happening in Malawi, and they accessed that through the media.
Job, mchingerezi muja nakufusa tisana tikungotsegula kumene kuwapatsira onera athu komanso amene akutimvera za chisangalalo kapena chikondwerero cha atolankhani ife pa utano zaka 30 ndimanena kuti iwenso ndi nkhalakale nganga ndi nganga
koma nkhalakale akuveka bwino pa ngangapo khangati waza mankhwala ngati yani
itifika be unkhachire komanoti wakhalitsa mu media industry ndimafuna undiunikirepo kuti mwina ena tinabwerako mochedwa ena samazindikira chisainireni Windhoek Declaration ku Namibia 1991 yomwe inabweretsa kuti media kapena ofalitsa nkhani osindikiza nkhani akhale omasuka pogwira ntchito yawo. Zinthu zasintha bwanji mzaka 30 zapitazi?
Zinthu zasintha kwambiri. Mmene ena fe timayamba ntchito kapena mmene timakula mawayilesi anali ochepa kwambiri. In fact MBC yokha imene imamveka dziko lonse la Malawi. Panali Transworld nthawi imeneyo ndi mawayilesi ena ang'onoang'ono. Komano chibwerereni ufulu wodzilamulira wa democracy zikuoneka kuti pabwera ndithu maujena ambiri mawayilesi ambiri kwabwera ma television ambiri. Panali nthawi imene television kumaya kuno inali MBC yokha. Koma tikuyankhula pano ndithu muona kuti pali ma television ambiri amene akulutsa mawu kuno ku Malawi, kusonyeza kuti zinthu zikusintha. Kuchuluka kwa nyumba zolutsira mawu yonche ndi kwabwino chifukwa one kumapereka mwayi kwa anthu kuti asankhe ku wireless imene akufuna kumvera, television imene akufuna kuonera. Masoko ano kuli mawayilesi aliyense amene amaulutsa mawu zokhudzana ndi zachipembedzo, achinyamata, akuluakulu, anthu amakhala ndi mwayi oti akhoza kusankha. So zimenezi ndi zinthu zabwino.
Ndi makamba kumbali ya kulimbikitsa democracy komanso ulamuliro wabwino mdziko muno.
Yes.
Kubwera kwa wireless zosiyanasiyana kuphatikizapo Zodiak yomwe yakhala ndithu ikuwapatsa mawu anthu. Zasintha bwanji
zinthu zasintha kwambiri, ndipo munthu sunganene mbiri yakusintha kwa ulamuliro wa chitsamunda ngakhale wa chipani chimodzi kudzafika ku matipate popanda kukambapo udindo umene atolankhani adatenga. Atolankhani adatenga udindo wakulu kwambiri kulemba nkhani, kuulutsa nkhani, kupereka mwayi kwa anthu kuti anene madandaulo awo poyera. Komanso tidziwe kuti pa nthawi imeneyi panali povuta kusintha zinthu kungosinthira mkati muno, pamafunikanso mayiko akunja adziwe zimene zikuchitika kuno ku Malawi. Atolankhani amene anagwira ntchito yofalitsa mawu kuti dziko lonse lidziwe. Choncho atolankhani anagwira ntchito yotamandika kwambiri kusintha zinthu mdziko muno.
John Frank Chakadza, mmodzi mwa atolankhani ku Zodiac Broadcasting Station komanso nkhalakale pa zofalitsa mawu. Tsopano mwina pongofuna kutsiriza tikhoza kungonena kuti ayi pano atolankhani akupumira kaye kuti adye chakudya chawo chamadzulo, koma tibwererenso kuti tikupatsireni pakatikati penipeni, climax in English, the climax of this World Press Freedom Day, where outstanding journalists to be awarded different accolades in their areas of in the field of work. So be there. In a short break, we'll come back to bring you the rest of the program here at Mount Sochi Hotel. I have been Alex Banda. Keep watching and listening.